Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead and start off and say that we just released a DAO vote. It's still in the warm-up period. The reason we made this vote is because we've been working on a internal drop with a few external NFT artists, where we had some people on our team and some outside artists come in and help us. Essentially, we owe nine of the artists some money, and we wanted to pull it out of the polymorph funds because this is like a polymorph derivative. Um, this is the polymorphic faces, and some people have seen some pictures probably online over the last few months of us tweeting. Some of those like Clown Charles faces are part of that. I think soon enough we'll start leaking some more images of how those NFTs are going to look. But we're very happy with it, and it was honestly a really cool collaborative effort. We found a bunch of artists in the NFT space. Not everybody participated that we had found, but we had enough participation to make the project work out. And our internal artists helped as well. They really wanted to help because they were some of the people who originally like did the polymorph designs. So they really enjoyed helping with this as well. But we need a vote to release those funds. We'll post about it. I think tomorrow that vote will go live. But essentially, that money is going to go to a hot wallet that I have control over. And I'm going to distribute those funds. And then we're going to refund a team member who paid one of the artists early because the artist had requested. And instead of going through like a whole DAO vote process to do that, we just like had someone pay out of their own wallet. So we'll refund those people and we'll give all those transactions to the community, and we'll send any of the remaining funds back to the DAO. There's just a little bit extra for gas and yeah, it's really just gas. But we'll send any remaining funds back to the DAO. But we just wanted to explain what that vote is about. And we did get the community feedback in the Discord today about the vote. So we have noted your feedback, and we are going to have an internal discussion about how we move forward on kind of like refunding for projects that we've already done, because there were some good points brought up. Okay. One big thing that has been brought up by the community that I think the team wants to also address is the opportunity to add ERC20s to support like on the marketplace. So
That was actually originally Aaron McDonald's idea.
yeah, Aaron McDonald originally came up with the idea, mentioning Ape token and ASTO. Essentially, if you allow Bored Ape users to, use that token on the marketplace, it can potentially bring, listings and, potentially liquidity and buyers to the marketplace. So, we are going to start, or I think we already started a forum discussion. I know we actually did. If Zach wants to go ahead and post that forum discussion in the pre-AMA channel, essentially, we should start having discussions, and we can do like monthly or bi-monthly pushes to push like 10 to 20 tokens. But like essentially, we think that like, Axie Infinity has a great community that it's, the Altered State
Wow,
Machines,
that's such a
Sandbox,
great
Decentraland.
idea.
But essentially, I think it's a really good idea, and there's a lot of cool reasons why. And we can always figure out down road what to do with the DAO vote on what we do with all the fees. But essentially, I think it's a really cool idea to start adding tokens sooner than later, because it's actually not very hard to add tokens to the interface.
It also like gives us the opportunity, kind of like what I've seen with like the floor app is to have like a really like well balanced treasury um, that isn't just in USDC or ETH and XYZ. I mean, I'm long term excited about this industry in general. So like it gives there's a lot of things that we'll be able to do with this is like it opens up like um tons of opportunities for things that like we could do with like InterDAO. Like imagine like streaming or renting NFTs and pretty much any like currency. It attracts all of those like ecosystem partners into like our ecosystem. Um, there's certain aspects of it that I think uh, could even help like from like a tax perspective. Like if I wanted to like let's say that I had offers in Illuvium and I had offers in like ETH, but I was planning on, selling the ETH to buy Illuvium anyway for like an NFT that I wanted to sell. It's just less transactions. So I think long term, we need to be cognizant of like when people put those random tokens in your wallet that can like rug your whole wallet from like a security perspective. So like we can't just like enable any and all like ERC20s or someone will get rugged and call us out. But I think similar. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to yawn in the middle of talking. In a similar capacity to us using like these snapshot votes to kind of honor collections that we want to see added. And like if the community has like a list of collections, I know that you have to have like 1% of the token supply to set up a DAO vote, but I think you only need like a very low amount in order to set up a snapshot. And so like anyone who has the XYZ token can set up snapshots to add collections that will get prioritized by the scraper. Like long term, any and all collections are just going to be showing up. But you don't have to get like specially verified by the team. And I think we have to be a little bit more careful as a community with just adding any and all ERC20 tokens because someone could act like introduce like a network security issue into the platform. But I think for now, if we're kind of adding a bunch of tokens that we support, I don't really see there being an issue that we have 100 or 200 ERC20 currencies that you can select from. I just think we need to carefully select what those are.
Yeah, and I think we start more towards like, trusted big DeFi tokens like some of like Aave and SNX, and then really focus too on a lot of the NFT communities because like you have the Volt token. I'm not actually sure Volt is an ERC20 because I'm just not completely sure, but I know there are like a lot of NFT tokens that we should be looking to integrate with, like, Sandbox, Illuvium, obviously the Bored Ape Yacht Club token. Um, but yeah, like I think the super powerful thing that Tyler just mentioned as well is, it allows us to build this reserve of these tokens as well. And then we can decide what to do with all of this as a community. And kind of even going back to what Tyler said on the DAO voting, is like some of these other tokens are governance tokens. And like essentially our DAO could eventually earn 1% of Illuvium supply and then be able to create a proposal and do, I mean, that's the long-term goal, but I mean, that's the long-term thinking here that I don't know if everyone kind of realizes what, the long term of what we're talking about right now is, but essentially that's it. And the XYZ token holders would be in control of all of that. Okay, I can kind of hand it off to Ryan to go over the marketplace priorities and stuff that we've kind of been going over. We released that Medium article this past Monday, and gave some updates on Twitter and Discord. We'll essentially try to do that every Monday or Tuesday so that everyone knows what we're working on and they can kind of expect what's to come. But yeah, I'll let Ryan kind of dive into some of the things that we've been working on this week.
Yeah, so as you guys,
Yeah.
yeah, can you guys hear me? Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
So 2 days ago we released a update with a whole bunch of stuff on there that Mark laid out very nicely in that article. And so there's a whole bunch of fixes there. And going forward, we have another set coming up with further improvements to the ledger and a whole bunch of updates to this scraper. There's a lot of improvements we're making on a lot of the kind of unique collections out there that don't have standard metadata. Because other marketplaces are able to kind of just aggregate a lot of it from OpenSea. They don't have to kind of build rule engines for every single NFT, but we do kind of have that position because we are building everything ourselves and rolling our own. So essentially, every new token that has a little bit of a weird quirk. So one really good example of this is like Hashmask. So Hashmask is a token that everybody knows about, but it doesn't follow the usual 721 standard. So we're working on rule engines for tokens like Hashmasks and Xyz and a whole bunch of other tokens. And so that's going to be really exciting, along with the improvements on speeding up the scraper itself, both in terms of how fast it's able to process going backwards, but also in terms of the monitoring capabilities as well. There are some bugs as well being fixed on that side in terms of the owner counts. I know we've had some issues there, and then some improvements we're working on with the volume traded and the floor prices to attempt to include ERC20 tokens is in there as well. That will probably not. Yeah, that's not going to be in this next upcoming feature release. So yeah, there's a lot of features on the board, a lot of both bug fixes and general overall improvements. And there's kind of like larger undertakings at play as well with things like the order migration from OpenSea and LooksRare and other platforms. And yeah, I mean, Mark, if you have anything you want me to specifically get into, I can give more details on there. But I think at a high level, we're basically fixing bugs on all points, and then basically doing everything we can to ensure that we can get this as scalable as possible before the alpha release.
Yeah, I don't think really need to dive into anything too much deeper. I'll just like follow up and mention a few more things. Like we are working on 1155 support. We are pretty close to getting the filter by trait filtering up. And we are working as hard as we can to get the search all refactored. But we think the search is going to take us a little bit of time to completely fix and test. But we think that trait or filter by trait is going to come a lot sooner than expected.
Yeah, so there's both short-term and long-term approaches there. One to kind of work on those very specific traits, but then another to optimize general search against hundreds of thousands and then millions and tens of millions of NFTs as the collections grow.
All right, I think we can hop into the forum where the questions are, and then we can hop into JD Buffalo's questions. So the first question is, what specifically are dev team priorities right now in terms of functionality and fixes? I guess like Chuba really just answered a lot of this stuff. On the questions about the time frames here, where you're asking 1 to 2 weeks, 1 to 2 months, some of these fixes are going to take 1 to 2 weeks. Some of these fixes are going to take 1 to 2 months. We are trying our best to gauge like timelines on all of them. Some of these issues we fix before we even gauge a timeline, but essentially we're trying our best to figure that out and to be as transparent as possible. But the hardest part is about like this development process is like we know a general estimate, but essentially like we could run into another bug and it extend it another week.
Yeah, I will say that the feature requests coming from the community are definitely the ones we prioritize. That, and especially like when you guys point out things that may be a little bit confusing or not as intuitive as you like it to be, we're doing our best to do like rapid redesign components so that there is a little bit more clarity on some of the features and a little bit less confusion. And basically, all feedback there helps, and we're doing our best to get those things as quickly as possible, especially if it comes up, 2, 3, 4 times. It becomes a high priority ticket very quickly.
So your next question about like which of the team members are directly involved on the development and which are not.
I made a couple of the devs, like team members in the Discord, like Naple is a dev, Mad Breaks was a community member who came on and took a full-time back-end developer role in the past month and has been awesome. Those are just people I see on here having like a green light at the moment. I added like 2 additional devs. We do use some contract developers that Aaron and I have worked with for a very, very long time out of like New Zealand, and they work with developers in both like Singapore and China. They're actually an unbelievable team. There's numerous people on the LimeChain team who are on like full time. Like, I mean, LimeChain's a big organization. It has like 70 to 80 devs. So like,
I think we have like 8 or 9 from LimeChain.
yeah, some of them work on InterDAO, obviously, but the devs who are on our team from LimeChain, like Ilya is a project manager slash developer. I mean, he's a very technical project manager. There's Vic, there's Stary, there's Stan, and honestly, I
mean, like George from LimeChain contributes a ton, and I mean, we have a lot of different teams that are building, but that's what decentralization really is about too, is we don't just have one team working. I mean, and even before, like we had D-Mob, but they eventually left. So
there's also Boris from LimeChain, but there's numerous like also just not even a part of LimeChain devs like Ryan, Chubba, Reed, Paul is a backend developer. There's a guy named John who came up from the community and DM'd us, and he's helping build Temple. And all of those people are full-time on Universe. So, I mean, I probably left someone out, and I, like, hopefully I don't get called out about it, but, like, I think I just named, like, 10 full-time developers who only work on Universe. And also, like, Tim, who's a co-founder, is a smart contract developer, and, like,
literally a genie.
He's not, like, compensated directly from Universe, like, similar to me. He doesn't take a salary, but I mean, he banged out the entire raffle component of the auctions in like a weekend. So, and like I'm definitely putting in, full-time hours on this. And Troy helps a ton. Everything from like architecture. I mean, a lot of this stuff. A lot of development isn't just writing code. It's also going through and figuring out what we need to build, organizing everything,
creating
prioritizing
databases,
resources, hiring developers. So yeah, I mean, it's. I would say we have a much more well-oiled machine right now than we've had at any point in the history of Universe. But I mean, a lot of these blockchain projects have like 1 or 2 devs that do the majority of the work, and I mean, this is just a much bigger project and endeavor than
I don't think we even mentioned Chuba. Chuba freaking does everything.
I said Chuba first.
And Trevor.
Yeah, we didn't mention Trevor. I mean, Trevor
is
runs all of our systems and DevOps. Like he came up originally through the Barnbridge community. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of developers that are working on this, and I'd encourage developers who are listening to this that don't think that we like listen to the community or that like they like think that this is some secret club. Like Ryan Chuba came up through the community, like Trevor came up through the community, Reed came up through the community, John came up through the community. And a lot of those Lime Chain devs have requested specifically to work on Universe. So like, if there are talented people in the community, reach out to us. Like, we always need talented people.
All right. What are the non-dev guys focused on? Really, we have a lot of different roles. I mean, essentially a DAO is an organization, so you have people that do all sorts of stuff. We have a lot of project managers. We have a lot of different projects going on under the hood on the art side. Like we have probably 15 artists and like 6 project managers. We have a support team that's has about 3 to 4 people on it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
everyone's
just at a high
busy.
level, it's like NFT creation. So like the polymorphic faces, like it. I mean, these are big projects. Like people have to manage them. There's UI UX. Like Nick and a lot of like. I mean, Nick has been working on Temple with John and the front end developer that works with John. I think his name's Alexi. I also forgot
It's
to
Pavel.
mention, like I only
His name's
mentioned back
his
end and
name's
smart
Pavel.
contract devs. I didn't even mention all of the front end devs. But like feature requests, I mean like Rain is killing it on a lot of like the community support. Zach is helping a ton with like deviants
Everything.
as well as I mean Zach's helping across the entire board. So yeah, I agree with Mark. I mean nobody.
And everyone really has been testing the marketplace. Like when everyone has like free time, essentially we're always testing new features. We're trying to get new features out to everybody, but we do have to test them. And everything has been audited. That is also part of why it took time to get some of this stuff out. But JD, I see what you're saying. We're just trying to tell you we're busy, bro. We are all doing a lot. Like, not to mention all the stuff Tyler and Troy do for everybody. But all right, let me see. Um, this question about the tokenomics, Tyler. Maybe I don't know if you want to answer that or. I mean, we kind of get some questions about this every week, but I don't.
I mean, right now the best like tokenomics in the world is not going to change the fact that I think that everyone knows that there's things that need to be fixed on the marketplace and we need to roll it out and make those fixes. So like ultimately I think that yes, we could reach out to people on the contributors list. I mean, a lot of the people on those contributors list though reach out to me when they're doing their tokenomics for their project. Like, so I'm not trying to shrug that off. Like, I think that we have capable people in the community to introduce new tokenomics. Like, I mean, I'm completely redoing a bunch of the tokenomics for Barn Bridge, but like, there are concerns like we're an American team, like we're a doxed American team. We can't do the same things as other projects, and that's not music to the ears of the people who hold the token. But like, I mean, that doesn't mean that American projects aren't good. I think that this is going to be like a multi-year process, and I think regulators are going to have to come on to it. Like, I'm not going to vote for something when all my like friends work around this protocol to do something that is short-term beneficial but long-term damages the project because it puts us in a bucket that we don't want to be in. So like, I mean, I've talked to lawyers about tokenomics. I've talked to the community about them. It's not coding them necessarily that's an issue. It's I think that all American DeFi and all American NFT projects probably need to pay more attention to some of the regulatory concerns. And like, there's massive bills on the floor of Congress that major Congress people are saying that they're proposing. And some of those things are part of what I'm waiting on to see before we, release, because like, I don't want to release some revamped tokenomics and we spend the time coding it, and then a floor gets introduced on Congress that just says like Americans can't do this. And like, I mean, people may think that we can hide behind our anon rules, but we can't. Even the anons can't do that. Like, you could subpoena GitHub. So I'm not trying to be like a jerk about it, but a lot of the ideas that people are asking to do are illegal. And just because other projects are doing it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to get in trouble, or
It's
that
illegal.
those tokens aren't going to be damaged from that.
Fuck.
Bro, it's just so funny.
I mean, that's just the unfortunate truth. Like, I'm not trying to make anyone upset, but I want this project to exist in 10 years, and doing things in the short term to pump the price is not a long-term strategy. Tokenomics regulations aside, it's probably not a good idea.
This next question about what's our strategy for rolling out the marketplace and kind of getting out of beta. And then the follow-up question is kind of, are we going to follow up with a marketing push kind of around there? The short answer is we're going to, like, we really have released about 10 to 15% of what we have built over the last year. And we are going to roll out 100% of it in hopefully the next 3 months. I think we'll be able to have all of it published.
3 to 3
I mean, my devs are probably going to try and kill me, but we have a lot of stuff to bring out. And we're going to roll it out in steps. I said this every week. To build a scalable product, in a way, you have to build it in steps. I mean, you can release it all at once, but if something breaks, it's kind of a nightmare to find out what breaks. So if we can release things kind of step by step or a few things at a time, and we know that stuff isn't going to break or, isn't going to completely overload our site and make NFT load speed super slow. There's a lot of things on why we need to build it in steps, and it's really just a scalability thing that we know our backend is going to be able to handle it. And if we need to make improvements or anything like that, we will, so that we don't have critical issues where the site goes down and people can't trade NFTs.
The other thing is when I bring up tokenomics, I would say that like listing incentives are not like necessarily what I'm talking about in that bucket. And so I do think that once we have really rolled something out that everybody thinks is mainstream ready, I do think that the number one thing that like, some of them are simple, right? Like the fact that I can't filter by trait. Like, we don't need to be incentivizing a bunch of listings when people can't do that on the marketplace yet. Like, I would like to see 1155s implemented. Like, I got a DM from the guys from Boys Noise. It was either Boys Noise or Disclosure, but they wanted us to add like rave pigs because they saw the vote that we were putting the MFers in. And Ryan checked the contract, and like rave pigs are 1155. So like we could open ourselves up where people say like first impressions are everything. Like 1% of the NFT market has not seen Universe yet. Like, and 1% of the people who will use NFTs in the coming years have never even bought an NFT yet. So like we are still very early and it's not like a dead project walking. The backend is unbelievable. We've been working with groups. Honestly, last night I was up till 11 p.m. working for a go-to-market strategy on how we can deal with like some of the inbound interest we're getting from like major brands that just want, and when I say major brands, I'm talking like household name companies that have reached out to us and want to integrate our marketplace because it's permissionless, because the team is doxed, because of all the reasons that the tokenomics can't be what looks are. And ultimately, what we built is something that these groups can plug into. So we're trying to come up with a way, like, we're not a services company. How do we basically build these front ends and document them very, very well that's one way long term how you get long tail assets and a ton of listings on the marketplace, is by building custom marketplaces for very large brands. And this is, I'm going to use a brand that we haven't talked to, Reebok, just as an example. Like Reebok doesn't want to like send their people to Universe or send their people to OpenSea. Like they want it on their site that they can show that these are verified Reebok NFTs, and they want to know that the system works properly. And ultimately, our front end is not as important as this massive conglomerate of front ends that I think are going to plug into us long term. And that's a huge win for us, that these brands, even one, know about us, but two, are paying attention and think that what we built is a premium to some of the things on the market. And so like that will most
Oh
likely
shit.
require that we do things like finder's fees, where now like Reebok hypothetically could build a interface, plug into Universe, and then they make money when things sell, and we make money when things sell, and we make money off of these volume plays. But ultimately, we also need to incentivize listings, because we can't just wait years and years and years of all the interfaces that plug into us. We need to get listings on the marketplace in a way that's sustainable, and everything doesn't just get swept by Jim or Genie, and we have to keep doing it every single month, every single month, every single month. So these are multi-pronged approaches that I think are going to bring a lot of value to Universe long term. But ultimately, like, we need to get some of our own front end situated before we go after these larger opportunities. Kind of like two-pronged bucket. One is getting listings on the site, and two is building interfaces for custom groups. And honestly, anyone can start a company and build interfaces for groups into Universe. You don't need our permission. You don't need a stamp of approval. That's one of the powers of Universe. Like, there could be entire industries built around what we've created. I don't think enough people realize that yet.
This thing that Transmental sent from Marklar where he says finder's fees in short term, we definitely are already doing this. We're talking to like Jim and Jeannie. They integrated, essentially they get a finder's fee for,
Well, they don't yet.
they
We
don't
have
yet,
to-
but we're working on this, and we've been talking to like, we talked to the JPEG kids originally about this.
Yeah, that's when we introduced it, or like started talking about it. And one of the reasons we delayed the marketplace a couple days was to make sure that all we would need was a vote and a contract upgrade to introduce like a finder's fee. But like I've talked to Andy at Fractional, and like that finder's fee is why he's interested in building a custom marketplace that he can just put on Fractional. Like we often talk about the charged particles guys, like there's no reason they couldn't do that. I'm actually talking with Fluffs and Aaron about doing a custom marketplace.
I even talked to the OpenSea team in Austin, Texas, and they mentioned to me they like if Universe was doing a finder's fee, they would be interested in plugging into our back end as well.
Because it's extra revenue and sales for them. And I mean, I can tell you that one of the largest tech companies in the entire world reached out to us and likes this specifically more than OpenSea for that reason. Ultimately, though, we need the scraper to be complete. Like I can't be going out and selling this to another hypothetical company, because I'm not going to say the real one, but like Google. Like we have to get this thing. We need like another 60 days to get everything proper before we go courting kings. But the interest is there, and those people on the website are not fake. Like we're very connected. We know a lot of people in the world. We know a lot of people in the industry. We have friends in low places and friends in high places, and we're going to tap those people when we feel it's appropriate. And I think everyone in this community is in that same boat. Like we're all early NFT people. Every single person on this call, their family probably thinks of them as the person who knows a bunch about NFTs, and their friends text them about NFTs. Well, that's cascades all the way up to celebrities, all the way down to your next door neighbor. And so when this thing gets right, I think it's going to be on all of us to spread the gospel.
Sarah ETH has or it's not really a question. It's kind of like a rebuttal, I think, but it kind of looks like, I don't know who said the question first, but Sarah is saying that they don't think that we should do any type of marketing to gain users until we are fully fleshed out or ready to be considered out of beta. And basically wait till the scraper does all the scraping necessary before we even consider marketing incentivization or pushing a campaign. And his question is, how far away are we from all of that? I mean, I said on this call a time frame. I'm not going to repeat myself because I don't want the devs to kill me, but
The thing, it's actually hard to estimate. Like, punks are huge, right? So, like, punks, it took our scraper multiple days because all the data's on chain. Like, when we add 1155s, like, that's another task for the scraper. Like, every time new collections get added, we're also doing a lot of, like, back-end architecture changes because we did have dev team turnover in the year that we were building this. And so some of the back end is in MongoDB and a lot of the back end is in Postgres. And we need to pick one or the other and make sure that all of this stuff is happening. It's not even really the back end, it's more the database in this scenario. So like, it's hard to estimate how long the scraper is going to take to scrape everything. It's scraping multiple collections a day. And some of them take longer than others. And yeah, when we add 1155s, it's going to extend the time. The short answer is that the scraper is never going to be done minting or scraping because every single transfer, every single new NFT collection, it's picking all of that up. So the scraper is working both forward looking and retroactive looking. And I think that you can assume that when gas fees are high and a lot of mints are happening, it's picking that stuff up. Like thingies showed up on Universe faster than they showed up on other marketplaces. However, when they changed the actual art, it happened slower on our marketplace. So these are all like different functions that the backend as well as the database is doing, and we're honing all of those functions. Our backend and our database is more scalable than the other marketplaces, but right now we're the youngest marketplace on the entire market, and it is going to take some time for. I mean, I can't give you an answer that's not vague. I'm just giving you all the reasons the answer is vague.
JD Buffalo has another question that says, there has been some back and forth about a potential airdrop to users of other marketplaces. I was just curious what the thinking is here. I know there's a bit of back and forth a while ago. Honestly, I think we need to decide that as a community. We've had this question before. The team is all for it. It's just we need to figure out a way to make it fair and not gameable, and make sure that like the people that we're rewarding are essentially going to use our marketplace, because we don't want to just incentivize. We don't just want to incentivize everybody. I think we should try to incentivize the people who come to our marketplace, and we've had a lot of conversations about that and what's the best way to do it. And I think we should open it up to the community for sure and see what we can come up with together. I think since this marketplace launch, we need to kind of think forward together. Like the team is going to do anything that the community says. And at this point, we're building together. That was the point of opening up this beta, was that we could build this thing together and everyone felt like they built it with us.
Which is true. I mean, like we are not just like sitting in some like castles in Europe, like just not working. Like everyone can see that since it's released, like we're way more active in the Discord. We're talking with the community. We're taking into account everything everyone is saying. Like I get a lot of DMs from people that ask things that, you know, maybe they don't want to ask in the main threads. Like we have, I mean, Knowledgeable Idiot put all of that stuff together for like community empowerment, and we're gonna keep rolling that stuff out. Like this is a community run project, and I think everyone on the team, like when we get on calls, we like normally start with concerns of the community that are like red flags. Like if something's on fire, we often hear it from the community. So like we're definitely listening, and sometimes like the ideas are also helpful because we see things and we're like, damn, that's actually pretty clever. Like I've seen that in fluffs, like people make up lore or like these things that are going to happen, and then we're like, well, we should actually kind of do that because that's a good idea. So like your opinions and your voices are heard and they matter, and a lot of times they're very, very good. And like us having a lot of people and a lot of brains contributing to this project is making it more powerful. So I think we continue to do what we're doing. I know that people are looking at the token price and worried about where things are. There's a lot of things like that are going on in the world that affect those things, and like the team isn't going to do anything to affect the token price. But ultimately, the marketplace is in a good spot. It's getting better, and the fact that the community is actively engaged after an entire year, a lot of projects would have lost people, and I think that's a testament to the community, and we respect that, and we're going to continue to listen to y'all.
I think you mean the seekers, not the thingies. We did the metadata release on the
Shit, my
seekers.
bad. I keep saying thingies.
So
but I'm
Tyler's
talking
been
about-
saying thingies, but he really has meant seekers. Tyler's a little tired because he's been working so much.
Yeah, I
this
literally
week.
took a nap before this call.
Yeah, I woke Tyler up right before this call. That's why he was, he had like 30 minutes. He's like, all right, I'm going to take a nap. I woke him up right at 3. That's why he was yawning right at the beginning of the call. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do to work 24/7 in crypto like Tyler does.
It's like that Sam Alameda, like sleeping on his couch.
You were sleeping on the couch.
Anyway, but yeah, guys, I do think that I think one thing I ask, I know we've been on this for a year, but any software that gets released, even if you spend a year building it, is going to have bugs, it's going to have kinks, there's going to be features that need to get added. So I just invite everyone's like patience right now, and then outside of that, know like, yes, we're listening, and like this stuff getting written goes into repositories. When people write things into like the support desk, like this is the type of stuff that we talk about on calls and like what we prioritize. I personally didn't think 1155s were that big of a deal to be added in from the get-go. I know Ryan had really pushed for that, and that's been one of the main things that the community, both in the Discord and even externally, like on Twitter, has been requesting. So like that's something that is getting prioritized specifically because people around the ecosystem are asking for it. And Ryan was right, and so we are prioritizing that. But you can't just snap your finger and have that added. Like, it takes time.
But we're close. All right. It looks like we're out of questions, but PR999 is typing. So I can give him a few minutes to maybe finish his question.
One thing while we're waiting on the question is I actually saw something really cool that there's this like developer that works at, I think, like Paradigm, one of like the big VCs, and he spent last night basically writing code for like token curated like GitHub registries. And I actually think that would be, there's a lot of ways that we can introduce that into Universe. Like one way Troy talked about was actually even putting some, like a lot of the source code around the database and like the APIs and documentation behind something that is token curated by the XYZ token, which means you have to own a certain amount of XYZ in order to even see the registry, which means that these larger companies that want to plug into our marketplace would actually have to buy XYZ to do so. And then some of the stuff that has to do, this is something that literally just came up today, like that I shared it within groups and we have ideas bouncing around, but like some of like how we curate collections, some of the stuff that we do with Temple, I think a lot of that, that's one of the actually cooler things I've seen in the last 3 months in all of crypto was the concept around token gated source code, where the license is open source, but you can only see it if you own the token. I actually think there's really creative things that we can do with that as a community, which I haven't really talked about it at all, but it's just a cool idea since we're talking about tokenomics, because that is a type of tokenomics that is completely legal and I don't think would raise anybody's eyebrows. It's just a really cool implementation of cryptographic assets and digital assets.
One
Okay.
thing I wanted to bring up was for the NFT display. I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but there is like we are getting ready to start opening up the application for like beta testing, but we need like Universe, like people that are using Universe, because it uses the Universe backend and it uses your profile on Universe. And there is a channel in it's under actually Graviton. It's like NFT display. The mobile app and the actual TV app should be going into beta in the next couple weeks. So if you wanted to actually like sign up for that, you should just drop like a GM in the NFT display. We have people in here, and we're
Troy,
adding
you
people.
should tell them what it is, because you know what it is, because you're working so much on that. So like, but I don't know if we
Okay.
ever on one of these
All right,
calls.
Yeah, we don't really talk about a lot of the Graviton
Yeah,
development
so
stuff.
yeah, so I mean, I guess we can start talking about it because we are like getting ready to actually start releasing it. So one of the things is Graviton did release a new website. You guys can go there, check it out. It's at graviton.xyz. It kind of breaks down some of the services and products that we are getting ready to launch. One of the first products that we're going to be launching is an NFT display application. And so what it does is we were looking for an easy way for us to show our NFTs that we owned on like a television or any display out there that can either have like an Apple TV connected to it or like a Chromecast little device connected to it. So what you do is essentially you will log into the Graviton website. It will pull up all your NFTs that are connected to your Universe profile. You then can add your NFTs to a playlist, and that playlist then gives you a code. You then can put the code into the mobile app, and that mobile app will play it, or you can put it into the television app, and it will actually play the playlist of your NFTs on your television or your mobile app or whatever you have it connected to. And that's going to be the first probably application like product that we drop. We also will have like another application called product called NFT storage, which will allow you to make sure that you always can back up all of your NFTs that you own in a decentralized manner. A lot of people probably don't know this, but a lot of NFTs are actually located on OpenSea's backend. But the problem is that because it's on OpenSea's backend, it's not backed up anymore on IPFS. We're going to have like an easy way for any user out there to make sure that no matter what happens, if OpenSea goes down or anything crazy happens, you guys will always have an easy way to back up all your NFTs. It's a free service for now, but we do have ways to incentivize monetization for that. The other two really big things that we're working on is Xenon and Hadron. We had to rename a lot of this stuff because we ran into a ton of copyright issues. And as a company, we have to follow that stuff. But Xenon essentially is a pay-as-you-go streaming service, which for videos. I kind of will leave it at that, but it's going into beta testing probably in a month. So if you guys want to sign up for that too, we'll probably be opening that up. The other thing is called Hadron, which is like an arts patronage system. So essentially what it is like what Tyler was talking about is like a token gateway into repositories. This will be a token gateway into specialized like siloed art that artists put on the internet in a like a backend that we control. But there's other things we're doing with that that are going to plug back into Universe. Both these things actually plug back into Universe long term. For Xenon, we are working on like a transcoding pool so that if you are providing transcoding power to the Xenon application for streaming, you will actually be mining XYZ token, which I think is pretty cool. And then for Hadron, it's going to plug into Universe. How should I say this? It's going to plug into Hadron in a very I don't have an easy way of saying it, so I'm going to leave it at that. But there are plans of using a lot of interest, like essentially it will use like universe minting in a very specific way. And that's how we're going to leave it.
Yeah, we can just. I know what you're trying to say. I would just keep that as alpha for now.
I'm not gonna drop too much. There's also a couple other things that we're working on with Graviton, but that will actually probably drop pretty quickly. But it's all kind of happening underneath the hood for very, very specific reasons. So just be on the lookout for that. But there's going to be a ton of really cool stuff, and I think it's going to really make people who have XYZ token very happy.
One thing I want to add about Graviton in general. So we did take grants from the DAO or like from the multisig because a lot of what we're building right now supports and enhances Universe. Like Troy has been in media and blockchain before like NFTs were a thing that people even thought about, like even before like Hal Finney wrote about NFTs. Like Troy's been drinking and driving before most of the NFT people have been driving. And at the end of the day, a lot of what...
That's one way to put it.
a lot of... so a lot of what we're building has been talked about and ideated for multiple years. Like I think like even like Live Peer was, I mean, everybody calls Kane the godfather of yield farming, but like, I mean, Kane even borrowed from some of the media protocols that were doing innovative things at the time. And we have raised a separate round where Graviton is like a privately funded company, which is beneficial in two respects. One, it extends the runway of Universe because it allows us to like split out those resources that we've built specifically for Graviton. But also when we were doing this, because me and Troy and Tim and a lot of the team have seen success and run things in an ethical capacity, we kind of had our pick on the types of investors that we wanted involved in the project. And mostly we're going to tap on people who have already kind of been pretty involved in Universe. And there's also the Barnbridge component because Graviton's in like a holding company that also has like a company that we're building stuff next to Barnbridge. So just say like Barnbridge and Universe like seed contributors, right? But there were two in particular that I really, 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 really wanted involved in a major way that was strategic both for Graviton and for Universe. And both of those groups have signed on to like join the round and join the project. So like we're also going to have like renewed interest from some of the larger institutional players in the space that have a lot of old world like Silicon Valley connections. And one of them during the process of us bringing them on, I found out is like the second or third largest trader in volume on OpenSea, which was surprising to me because I knew of them as a DeFi group. But long story short is the larger groups in the space are still paying attention to what we're doing. They understand code takes time, and they're very much like doubling down on us, the project, the team, the protocol, the community, everything that has happened up to this point. And I mean, these are sophisticated people, so I think that makes me excited and confident.
Yeah, I mean the best part about all that is they're long-term vision people. And so like they're not like quick flippers of stuff. And so they don't get out and they don't leave projects until they feel like they've reached their full vision. And so that should make everyone feel really good, because the vision of Universe and the vision of the services and everything built around it is very large, and it's obviously not going to happen overnight, and we're all here for the long haul. So just know that the people who are supporting us are there for the same reasons. Also, sorry, the website for Graviton is down. Tyler just reminded me of that. We're doing some refactoring on the server, so probably check back tomorrow. We'll be up.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't announced it yet, so it's down because it's
like been
not
announced
supposed to be up yet.
Yeah. So you guys get the alpha on that.
One more thing is we are talking with our merch team tomorrow. I know a lot of people got their Degen Supply merch. We are working on some more designs, and we are working on like exclusive like NFT polymorph merch. And that kind of stuff will be token gated. We're working with the merch team on that. We have a meeting this week with them, and we'll figure out more of that, but we are bringing more merch for sure, because the last merch was dope and we got great feedback, and we already have new designs. And we love you all. Okay, does anybody else in here have any questions or anything else that they want to bring up before we're coming up on an hour, so.
Yeah, we're gonna try to keep these like hard stop at an hour. If we need to answer more questions in the thing, we just had some people reach out and complain that they're getting dragged out, and we get to the point that we're rambling normally at this stage of the call. So going forward, we're gonna be kind of strict on cutting it at an hour.
It looks like it's all polymorph spam and ETH lizards head bopping.
Polymorphs are never spam, but I hear you.
Yeah, not spam. Polymorphism.
Yeah, shout out to the ETH lizards. I'm not a founder of that project, everyone. Like, just so y'all know, like I got a founder's lizard for being a founder in the space that was close to the project, and I've consulted for them on DAO components, and I really like their team, and I have massive respect for like Kieran, and I'll help him with whatever he needs. I'm no more of a founder of ETH lizards than I am of
Ethereum.
Or Alluvian. I mean, no, like Alluvian would be a good example. Like I help consult on the DAO. I help them structure a lot of stuff. Like, but ultimately, I bought lizards like everyone else, and I was given one that has Barn Bridge on it, and like I'm not gonna sell that thing. So that's what founder lizard means. It doesn't mean I'm a founder of a project, because I've seen people ask me if I'm gonna incorporate the lizards and the polymorphs Republic of Metaversia, and like no. I mean, maybe, like I don't know, like I kind of like the lizards, maybe we will, but that's not like a Universe project or a Tyler project or a Mark or a Troy project. Like,
but we like the lizards. Look at what Allie says. Says, thank you for existing, Tyler, so I could buy an ETH lizard and sell it. He's so funny. All right.
I love you guys. I'm not shitting on the project saying I'm not a founder. I'm just clarifying for everybody. I own lizards, and I'm going to keep doing it.
We like the lizards.